Hi guys, welcome back to the DBS Institute YouTube channel. I'm DC Breaks, and this week I've been exploring a brand new tool called DJ Studio, which promises to streamline the creation of making a DJ studio mix. So whether you're a professional DJ like myself or an amateur, it can really help you speed up and take a lot of the legwork out of creating your own mixes, but it also opens up a lot of creative processes and is also really fun. Now it can integrate with music on your hard drive, but also many of the common download and streaming sites, and also YouTube, so you can actually make a mix of any music you like on YouTube and export it, including all of the video content. But really, all I'm interested in is one thing, which is, can it make a good drum and bass mix? So I took it for a spin. Let's see how I got on. So when you first load up DJ Studio, you get this home page where you can browse mixes that you might have made using local music, so in other words using files on your hard drive. But you can also create mixes in DJ Studio using any video on YouTube. You can also link it up to Beatport or BeatSource, Spotify even, or your own library on your own hard drive as well, and sync those and use those as sources for music to make your mixes from. There's community pages where you can see mixes made by, for example, the YouTube community. You can browse by different genres, and there's also an academy section where you can find out how to use the software and look at some tutorials for doing different things within DJ Studio. But really what I want to know is, how good is it for making a studio mix for drum and bass? So let's jump on in. So the process is really straightforward. You just click here to start a new mix, and then you can import your local files from here. You can drag and drop them to import. I'm going to be using 6 tracks that I've just found on Epidemic Sound. These are drum and bass tracks. They're royalty free and copyright free, which means I can use them in this video and still publish it to YouTube without there being any copyright issues. I don't know any of these tracks at all. I had a quick listen to them on Epidemic Sound. They sounded half decent. And this is one of the reasons why you might use something like this. If you've got lots of new music, perhaps you're just downloading all the demos from your kind of promo email inbox. If you're a professional DJ and you have access to lots of promos like I do, it can be a good way of kind of filtering through new music and seeing how these tracks can mix together. So I'm just going to add in these 6 tracks for the moment. And it's going to scan all of those, import them, and then put them into a project for us. Now we can see at the moment we've got decks 1 and 2, and at the moment we're just cross-fading between each of these tracks, one after the other. And what determines how it kind of mixes this is the auto mix section. So we'll just come into this and have a look. So at the moment, auto mix is set to apply a crossfade over 32 bars, starting with synchronizing tempo and then kind of syncing in different points where it kind of in mixes and out mixes, essentially. So you can set this up to the style of mixing that you would normally use. So for me, that might be something more like a bass swap after 8 bars, and we'll just leave these on automatic for the moment, and we'll keep it in vinyl mode. So that means that as the track speeds up, its pitch is going to go up in the way that you would expect if you were using a CDJ or indeed a turntable. So let's hit auto mix again, and it's going to try out, in this case, 7,000 different combinations and create a perfect mix. So let's have a look at how it's done. And again, I don't know these tracks, so let's just have a listen and see how well it's done that. You can see just looking at it that it's going for a kind of outro of the track into the intro of the next track. It's not my style of mixing, but let's just see how well it has done at finding out a good mix for these tracks. Okay, so that didn't work at all because it's tried to kind of do a low cut or a bass swap, essentially the bass swap preset that we used, but it's swapping from like the drop of this track into like the intro of this track. However, not all is lost because we can just drag this through to find the drop of this track and line it up with the drop of this track. So I'm just going to solo this and have a listen. So we're going to drop it, this track in here at 33 and drop this one out at the same, the equivalent drop point of this track. And I'm actually going to make this last a bit longer because when I do my mixes, I like to kind of ride the 2 tracks together for a period of time. In fact, let's roll it all the way through to where the track ends here. And volume at the moment, if we click on any of these effects and come back down to the bottom menu here, and look at transitions, here we go, we can see that volume is currently set to crossfade. So we can either we might not want to mix the volumes, but we can also put it into manual mode, and this will allow us to kind of adjust the volume. So we're cutting out the low end. We can see the bass here there's a bass swap, and you can kind of change the position of those swaps, but when it's 0, it's literally from one to the other. So let's just have a listen to the 2 tracks now. Okay, not too bad. It's clipping a little bit. We might want to turn down our tracks a little bit so they're not quite so clippy. We could also fade in this track as well, have it kind of coming up over this one, and we might want to bring the volume down on this bit as it drops to give the other track a bit more emphasis. So let's try that, see if we can smooth out the mix a bit better. So yeah, that's starting to sound half decent. We can then also use filtering effects as well. So it might be that we want to have this one filtering up, for example. So we'll go low to high. We're not going to want this. I'm just going to click this solo so we can actually see the visibility on this. And at the moment, it's applied it across the whole range here. So again, we want to just put that onto manual. The filter works basically in a bipolar way. So if I do this, it's filtering from high to 0 in the middle essentially, and then from here it's going from low back up to essentially off in the middle that way. So we could try it kind of filtering up like that. This one, as you can see, is completely off. We might want to put it up, push it up a little bit again, just to kind of take off a bit more of the low mids when this tune kicks in. Let's have a listen to that. Not too bad. I felt like the volume perhaps of this one, just because the resonance of the filter was quite high, could maybe come down, something like that. And so we can go on. We've also got noise here as well. So we've got a riser. We can chuck in a riser as well. If we just, again, solo this so we can see the riser, it's this blue one here. Again, it's across the whole transition at the moment. So we just need to come into manual and kind of chuck that in. So let's do something like this. Oops, it can be a little fiddly once you start getting, you know, lots of different transitions. So this is going to basically just bring in some white noise and then kind of drop it over the drop there. Should probably cut it out around here. And so we can go on. We've got different effects that we can have for the intro transition. So we've got some loops that we can apply. So if we click on this, we can kind of change that to kind of loop, depending on how long we want that for. There's a key swap. There's also, we can adjust the key manually if we need to. And on the way out, we've got loops, reverb, and echo. We've also got sidechain. And we've also got these mid and high EQs again. So if we wanted to, for example, drop the mid-range out on the track that's kind of coming out a little bit, again, to give this track more prominence, we could do that. So I might just try removing the mid-range here to allow this kind of bass sound to kind of kick through, just for this little section here, and then kind of chop it back in. Let's try that. Okay, that works all right. And then likewise with the high end, again, once we start having lots and lots of different transitions, the best thing to do is to use these sort of visibility solos, if you like. So just turn that on now. And we might want to turn the top end down on this track and maybe boost it a little bit on this track, just to kind of, again, switch the emphasis to the second track. Let's try that. So once we're happy with that, we can actually save this whole thing as a preset. If we come down to save here, let's stick this on 3, and then we can actually apply that to a different transition over here. So let's come to this second transition. Let's just hear what it's done with this one. Okay, not great at the moment with the default one. Let's have a... Okay, so there's the drop. So we could bring this forwards to match in with... Well, let's see if it... Does it redrop here? Okay, so let's pull this whole thing back over this way. And let's pull the track so that it drops... it was at 25, wasn't it? Into here. I think it's actually like so. Oops, just need to bring this forward first. Okay. So that's where we need the actual main bass swap to happen. So we probably want this to come in. So I'm actually just going to choose preset 3. And so now hopefully we have that same, well, all of that same automation that we put in for this mix onto this mix. And it's not necessarily going to work exactly the same, but it's a good starting point. Let's check it out.
Hey everyone, I hope you've been enjoying this tutorial. At DBS Institute, we provide degree level training to help you take your skills to the next level and start your career in music production. Head to the link to find out more.
And that actually worked like surprisingly well, even the kind of the bass cutout thing or the mid-range cutout thing that I did on this one, kind of reversing that back round to allow this kind of sort of false drop here with the kind of bass soloed, worked really well. And so this is one of the great things about this software, is that it allows you to create your own almost custom mixing styles and then save them as presets. I'd like to see more than 4 presets, but 4 is fine for now. And then kind of use that to speed up the whole process of creating your mixes. So it's really intuitive to use, it's really straightforward to use. The only problem that I've got is that if I was doing this, I'd like to have some extra decks. There's only 2 decks at the moment, but I believe that might be added later on. Another good thing you can do with this is to also set the global BPM of the mix. So at the moment it's just automatically on 174. You can see the BPM at the bottom here. But we can come into manual and we can set the mix BPM. So if we wanted to speed everything up to 180, we could do that. And now the whole mix instantly is at the right BPM for a more kind of upfront drum and bass sort of club style set. So considering I didn't know any of these tracks, never listened to them before, a lot of the legwork has been taken out of trying to figure out how to do the mixes, kind of being able to speed up the whole workflow around creating a studio mix. It's quite a big improvement, I would say, on using something like Ableton Live. The one drawback is if you know Ableton Live inside out, you can do all this same sort of stuff. There isn't really an easy way to kind of copy automation in this way. But as an auxiliary tool for making studio mixes, I think this is great. So when you finish arranging your mix, you can come up to the file menu and export it. There's quite a lot of flexibility here, so you can export it as an MP3, a WAV, or even a video. We'll talk about the video side of things shortly. You can export it as a playlist with the tracks to Rekordbox or Serato, for example, if you're planning a DJ set for playing out live. You can export the whole thing to an Ableton Live project as well. You can export it as a video and upload it to YouTube, which is great. And particularly in this case, I've used royalty-free, copyright-free music, so I can do that without any copyright issues. You can export it as an MP3 and directly upload it to Mixcloud. And you can back up the project as a DJS file, so DJ Studio file, for sharing the project with other people as well, if you need to. Now, I mentioned video, and if we come down to the video appearance tab at the bottom here, we can actually add in video files for different parts of our track. And so we can have these sort of set up to be different for different parts of the mix where the tracks sort of change and stuff. And for each of these tabs, we've got different options. So we've got an animated background, shader toy, which is a new kind of beta feature where you can choose all sorts of kind of different sort of shaded style backgrounds. It's still kind of being beta, it's a little bit glitchy, but it works pretty well. Or we can put in album art if you have that, or just your own images. But essentially you can quite easily make quite cool visuals to accompany your video. So if you wanted to put this on YouTube and you didn't want to have just a plain static background or an image, you could get something that's a bit more visually exciting by doing this. And I'm sure this feature will only get better as they continue to develop DJ Studio. And even in the short space of time I've had it, I've done 2 or 3 updates, and they are rapidly developing this. There's a great Discord server going along with a great community of people making suggestions and requests for different features, and they seem to be rolling these out pretty quickly, I have to say. So watch this space for how this develops. By the time you watch this, some of these features may well have already developed further. So just on that, if you come to the bottom right, you have this little help text box here, and you can send a message and they will typically reply in under 30 minutes. There's also news about different product updates. You can search for help, you can visit the Academy, and you can also view a roadmap and vote for new features as well. So it's a really cool little feature right within the software where you can see how it's developing, ask questions and get help and support really, really quickly. And indeed, using this feature, I was able to request access to the beta version for stems, and you can actually now also get stem separation built into your mixes as well. Let's take a look at how that works. So if you do get accepted onto the beta and you want to use the stems, I'm sure it will be publicly released pretty soon as well. You just click onto the stems tab, which will appear, and this will give you these different colored flags which relate to the drums, the bass, the melody, and the vocals for each track. And by default, you can see again, if we come to the presets at the bottom, this is currently on crossfade. You can see it's currently still processing. So we've got the data for this track, but not for this one. This one's still kind of chugging away in the background. But we can put this on to full if we want all of it. And stems manual mode then gives us the ability to kind of manipulate these. So if I put it onto manual, for example, here, we can take the start point of this one and the end point of this one and kind of switch those out. So with the vocals, a great thing to do there might be that we might want to kind of lose the vocals completely from one track, or indeed isolate them in another track so that we have just the vocals coming through if we wanted to make like an a cappella, for example. Or again, you know, we can just kind of fade these in and out depending on how we see fit, or indeed just kind of adjust the levels and so on. So it just gives you like another added layer of flexibility when it comes to creating your studio mixes. And as far as I'm aware, this is really the only DJ-based software that kind of allows you to manipulate at this kind of level within the stems. So that's also a pretty cool feature. So returning to the home page, I just want to take a quick look at using YouTube to make mixes. In this scenario, we just come into the YouTube area, we can search, so for example, we'll come to DC Breaks. If I wanted to make a mix of my own tracks, I can just pretty much select all of these. In fact, I'm not going to add 76 videos, I'll just grab the first 4 in the interest of brevity. Again, you can see here already straight away the keys and the BPM for all the tracks and the lengths directly from YouTube, which is really handy as well. So if there's tracks that you know and you like, they're on YouTube, you can easily find out that information. Once again, just add them to the mix, it's going to import them, it's going to analyze them, and then once again, using the auto mix feature, it's going to suggest a perfect mix of these tracks. But where it gets really interesting is that this then will also bring in the video, so that if you want to export this, you can then actually also get not just an auto mixed like DJ set, you can also then get an accompanying video that matches with the videos of those individual videos. So once again, if we just hit auto mix, it's going to create our mix. It's taken 88 different combinations with it only being 4 tracks. Once again, we have the same kind of preset transitions, which we might want to go in and adjust as we've just seen. But with it being based on videos from YouTube, what we also now get is a video that accompanies it. So you can see that video there is synced to the main track as we've actually got it. So it's playing through the music video with the track at the same time. And then when we get to our transition, it plays the next one as well. Now the problem is, if we want to export this, because of copyright reasons, it won't actually allow us to post this directly to YouTube, but let's just call this Mix 2. But we can still publish it and share it with our friends, followers and DJ Studio community, so we can get a URL that we can have for our exported mix. We can still back it up as a DJS file, and then for just music only, we can export this in the same way that we would one of the other projects. But if we want to just do this, we can set up our own profile, have a place on the community, but when we do all that, we will then also get a URL that we can share. We can keep it for our own personal purposes. We can post it online and so on and so forth. We just can't upload it to YouTube. Let's take a look. So we get a link like this. It's all kind of DJ Studio branded. We can see the track list in here as well. We can hit play and it will play the DJ mix that we've done, and then it will switch between videos when it reaches a transition. Let's take a look. Just turn the volume down a little bit. So we've got our music video here. And then as we get to the transition, it will load in the next video with the fade that we had from the mix. So a nice little tool for making videos, particularly if you have access to music through YouTube that you really like that has accompanying videos. This can be another way of creating some really nice content very quickly, very easily, using already publicly available videos and music on YouTube. So I have to say there is an awful lot to be said for DJ Studio, and yes, it can handle creating a really complex and slamming drum and bass mix. There's enough functionality there, there's enough depth to it if you really want to go in and tweak those mixes up, but it's also great if you just want to create a much more straightforward set of transitions from one track to the next across a playlist or your own library as well. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you want to get more videos like this from us here at DBS Institute, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.